Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome back to our channel MediMadeEzy. Before I move on to our next video, I would really like to thank and appreciate all the gestures and appreciation you have done for my previous video. Hoping that it continues for further videos, let us start with a new video that is on Thorax part 2, where I will be dealing with the trachea. Moving on to our next topic, the trachea. The trachea or the windpipe is a tube that conducts air from the larynx to the principal bronchi. The length of the trachea in an healthy adult is said to be of 12 centimeters. The trachea is divided into two parts, the cervical course and the thoracic course. The trachea lies in the midline in its cervical course, whereas slightly to the right in the thoracic course. The trachea extends from the lower border of the cricoid cartilage, or at the level of C6, that is the sixth cervical vertebra, to the upper border of the fifth thoracic vertebra, where it divides into right and left bronchi. Talking about its mobility, the upper end moves with the larynx and the lower end moves with the respiration. It so happens that during deep inspiration, the tracheal bifurcation may descend or move down to the level of the sixth thoracic vertebra. The trachea, throughout its course, is covered anteriorly by 15 to 20 C-shaped cartilaginous rings. On the posterior side of the trachea, we have a smooth muscle called the trachealis, which flattens the posterior wall of the trachea. This soft muscle helps in the expansion of the esophagus. Okay, now let's move on to the relations of the trachea. As we all know, trachea is divided into two segments, the upper cervical and the lower thoracic. Coming to the anterior relations of the trachea, as we can see from this picture, major relations of the cervical part of the trachea anteriorly are the sternothyroid muscle and the sternohyoid muscle. Also, we have the isthmus of the thyroid gland, inferior thyroid veins, the jugular venous arch, and the pretracheal lymph nodes. Coming to the anterior relations of the thoracic part of the trachea, we have the arch of aorta and its two branches, brachiocephalic artery and the left common carotid artery, left brachiocephalic vein, the deep cardiac plexus, and the tracheobronchial lymph nodes at the bifurcation. Coming on to the posterior relations. Posteriorly, the cervical part of the trachea lies on the esophagus, with a recurrent laryngeal nerve in the groove between them. And posterior relations of the thoracic part of the trachea, we have the esophagus only. Coming to the lateral relations of the trachea, in the cervical part we have the lobes of the thyroid gland, inferior thyroid arteries, and common carotid artery. Whereas left lateral relations of the thoracic part of the trachea, we have the left subclavian artery, left common carotid artery, and on the right we have the right brachiocephalic vein and the right vagus nerve. Now coming on to the surface marking of the trachea can be approximated on the surface of anterior thorax between the boundaries of the inferior margin of the cricoid cartilage and the manubriosternal angle. Moving on to the blood supply of the trachea. The cervical part of the trachea is mainly supplied by the inferior thyroid arteries, whereas the thoracic part of the trachea is additionally supplied by the bronchial arteries. The tracheal veins drain into the inferior thyroid venous plexus. Talking about its lymphatic drainage, the trachea drains into tracheobronchial, paratracheal, and the pretracheal lymph nodes. The nerve supply for the trachea is through the vagus nerve, recurrent laryngeal nerve, and the sympathetic ganglia. Okay, so that ends our topic on trachea. In the upcoming video, we will deal in brief about the lungs. Hope you liked this video, and if you did, please do like, share and subscribe to our channel MediMadeEzy. And as usual, if there is any query or any suggestion or any remarks, please do let us know in the comment section below.